These.
The soundboard doesn't work, and you're going to get a bunch of emails. Sorry, we're actually recording now. So the soundboard doesn't work. We tried the soundboard. We tried to make it work. I was just going to be upset because a bunch of spam is going to come to our tech email, and he has told us not to use the tech email, but he's laughing.
You can't use the tech email. You can't use the marketing email. If you sign up with the tech at VBG.
Which email would I use and you'd be upset?
Marketing or any other email but tech to sign up.
I'm about to sign up with that. But hey, man, we're back. We're back for episode 14. Episode 14 of the VBG Brief podcast. Our one location in beautiful
Minneapolis.
We're not in Minneapolis. We're in Burnsville. Yeah.
Oh, we're not.
Yeah. We're not in Minneapolis.
You're in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, we're in the Twin Cities. Shout out to the Twin Cities. Wels and I love coming to Minneapolis, man.
Okay. Why you say it like that? We got to go on a boat earlier, so that was pretty dope.
Yeah, if you can see the scenery behind us.
Yeah, take a look.
That'd be dope. Yeah, you can see the scenery behind us.
Yeah.
And we got Al behind the camera. Al is still here. So no controversy. He is still with us. Bernice is still with us, but she's not with us here. So we're excited. Hey, we got our guy, Andy Gray.
Oh, what a warm welcome.
Hey, man, we got my guy, Andy Gray of Catalyst for Harmony. Andy is our main man. Like, so if I'm looking at like that couch right there, or like these are my two guys, right? Like, I don't play by Wels and Andy. And that's because I've been rocking with these guys since, if you guys remember episode we did about Rev 7-9, I think it was, I always gotta tell the story. The first time I met Andy was at a pastor's conference. And at this particular pastor's conference, they were talking about reaching different people groups. And the room was like 99% white. And I was like, who in the world is gonna talk about reaching? The room was 99.9% white. I was like, who in the world is going to talk about reaching like people of color, like black folk? And Andy got up there and I was like, all right, who is this white guy? He started off the conversation by saying, hey, in order to really reach black people, I think you got to understand how they've been marginalized. And I feel like the room went like quieter than quiet. Like it was just, you could hear a pin drop. And then if I got super Southern, I'd say something about something on cotton. But it was really, really quiet in there. And I was like, I got to shake that dude's hand after that. And I feel like ever since then, we've been rocking with Andy, Wels and I have. But we'll actually talk about more of that too, because we got to like walk down memory lane. But Andy, welcome.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you guys. It's been a blast knowing you, first of all. I consider you guys great friends. Just getting to know Al a little bit more, but it's a joy to be able to just do stuff with you guys, whether we're working on stuff or just hanging or just eating. There's always a lot of laughing, a few jokes on the side. We have a good time when we're together.
Andy's the executive director of Catalyst for Harmony, which is, I tell people Catalyst is like two double headquartered, one in Raleigh and one in Minneapolis, but definitely, right here is where you should send the checks, not to Raleigh.
College, I really started a consistent faith journey, and the context that I went to college in, well, I grew up in a very rural area that was mostly white. Then I went to university north of Detroit, very multi-ethnic, and my next door dorm mate was African-American from Detroit proper, and we became great, great friends. He was eventually the best man in my wedding. But along the way, I came to faith and started to live my life that way. And I moved to Minnesota for a project. I was an electrical engineer at the time. Moved to Minnesota, and I went to a big church. And it was good. It was interesting. And I thought this might be a place I'll get plugged in. But I was curious as I looked around. I was like, how could a church be this big? And there's only like 3 or 4 black folks here. Like that just, from what I was learning about in my faith journey, that just seemed incredibly inconsistent. So I guess I felt called to stay there, made some relationships, eventually met my wife there. And then several years later, I became a pastor, and this continuing journey that kind of mysterious wondering of why in the world is the church like this, I was led to plant a church with the intention of having a multi-ethnic community that reflected the reality of our city and the population here in the Twin Cities. Made a myriad of mistakes with a modicum of success in that. Pastored that church for 18 years. And towards the end of that, really began to feel a calling to invest as much energy as I could into tackling this problem and addressing it as an area of discipleship in the church. I just think it's been a completely ignored area of discipleship in the church. And so that's what was going on before Catalyst launched.
Well, then I'm going to try to intertwine this because there's a point in which our stories kind of all mingle together. I think so. I met Andy at that conference. I was really excited to like shake his hand afterwards. I was like, "Hey man, we gotta grab lunch. I gotta talk to you. I gotta pick your brains." Like, absolutely, we're planning to talk. And then, but there was something that happened that caused you to leave that conference earlier. Mm-hmm. And do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was Philando Castile being shot by the policemen here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, and then so I think Andy was but that moved me that like Andy felt such a call to shepherd that he had to like, I gotta go be with people. And I felt like that was the term I gotta be with my church. And that to me was like, hey man, this guy's not just talking about it, he's walking it. And so that was cool. Like I remember like hearing that, like just that left such a strong impression on me. I want to say fast forward, what year was that? 2016?
Probably around then, maybe 2015. 2017.
It was 2016. That was my first. Yeah, because it was in Des Moines, Iowa. So then 2017, I want to say it was 2017. School year has started, and I'm working. All right, we're at NC State. I'm thinking through this period of, I feel like there's racial issues where either a cop shooting someone happening across the country, but this time it actually hit closer to home, Charlotte, North Carolina, which there's a ton of students that come from Charlotte that go to NC State. And I feel like the church I was with at the time, we just weren't equipped to deal with that. And I think the same, so Wels and I went to sister churches, and our church was a part of the same movement of churches that Andy was pastoring a part. So this is where we all saw each other at these conferences. But I feel like Wels's church was having the same issue, and we were all trying to figure out, this is like early 2017. Yeah. How do we deal with this? And I remember like having several conversations on the phone with Andy where it's like, man, I wish everybody heard what Andy just said. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be the right person to go back and reshare this, but I just felt like, man, and it was discipling me in that moment of how do I walk and how do I like lead others in this time. So that was something like Wels can talk more from the experience of perspective.
Yeah, during that time, I feel like I think it got more heated in 2020. That's when like, shout out to Amber. Amber was like,
that's the second shout out for Ember, yeah. And I don't think she watches this. And
we gotta send it to her.
I told her too, so I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. So she kind of got us in this like group meeting because you were talking to her, and we were talking to her, and she was like, "You guys should talk to each other." And I didn't know this same talk was happening everywhere else. I thought it was just us. Like, this is just us here talking about it. Nobody else kind of really care about that. And so shout out to Amber for just being able to like make that connection. And then from that connection, I was like, oh, Todd's talking about this? Okay, then I know Todd, let's keep talking. And we started having monthly calls and things like that, and so on, so on. This was after we met Andy. This is not after we met Andy.
You hadn't met Andy yet.
I hadn't met Andy yet. Yeah. This was like 2020. And through that whole time, a lot of us kind of talked, and we started Rev 7-9. And I think you mentioned Andy to us, but we haven't met Andy yet. And so throughout that whole journey of Rev 7-9, how we had conferences, one thing I kind of led that journey was our, I guess, I would say, not Bible study, but like study groups where different topics we kind of focused on. And during that time, it was I'm glad Andy was discipling Todd, because Todd was discipling us through what Andy was teaching you, it felt like, because a lot of the backlash we got was, to me, it was funny, but at the same time, it was kind of like discouraging. And so Todd being there kind of like just encouraging us day by day, and then coming to me, Andy, realizing, okay, this is some same thing Todd's been talking about. This is like what we gotta do to kind of like, make this thing known. And this is where Callis kind of like started. This is like I feel like we're giving the full timeline so people can better understand like this whole, like, how would I say, birth of like not just like Rev 7-9, but birth of like some of what Callis is doing right now in terms of like different works that we've been kind of spearheading with Rev 7-9 and with Todd and 9.
I mean, the missional element
The
of
missional element of it,
is built on this.
Is built on it. And so yeah, it was definitely a rough time. I felt very discouraging from what happened in that whole 2020 making Rev 7-9, and then meeting Andy was very encouraging because like I was like, okay, this is a white person that actually understands what the heck we're talking about. I'm joking.
Yeah. Although my mom doesn't think Andy's white. He thinks he's got some black in him somewhere. Yeah, so like somewhere down the road.
And I'm like, this guy's a pastor. I'm like, okay, then that even makes it even much better because I'm like, okay, I know I'm not crazy because I know what the word is saying about this. And then the church that me and Todd was going to at this time, or like sister church of, I feel like that message was not getting across fully. And I really appreciate Andy about that. And I don't know, do you want to take it from here, Andy, talk about more of like...
Well, all right, I'm gonna set us up here.
Okay.
So this is like January 2021. Wels,
so we finished like, I think 2020 is like, yeah, that whole Rev 7-9 2020, and then we talked about meeting Andy going to
2021. Andy had done he had stepped in on some webinars for us a ton of times.
The conference.
The conference that we did. Yeah. But then January 2021, it's like going into the spring semester. And we're like, yo, we're going to do a book study. And we got shut down.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was like how would I say, the spirit to the heart, like straight. Because like I feel like we had momentum in terms of like what we were doing. And I kind of felt like we were like making this sort of thing aware of, but then like the way the book study was shut down was weird to me. It was not much explanation. I had meeting with the leaders of why they shut down twice, and it was more just like going around the reason.
And
I'm like, what?
Yeah, looking back, I don't think it matters much today, but I was really discouraged at that point. It was really difficult, and I remember that led to a conversation I had with Andy. So, January 2021, I'm on the phone with Andy. I think this is like, you'll be able to tell me the date almost, or around that date, because I'm on the phone with Andy, and I want to say I was telling him like, hey man, I'm really discouraged and this is really tough, and I don't know how much longer I could be in this context. And I know something has to change, something has to be different. And you shared with me that time, hey man, I'm gonna step down from my church and I'm gonna start a ministry called Catalyst for Harmony. And I said, dude, if I could be a part of that, let me know. I'm dope. I'm down for it. I think that sounds dope. I'm actually proposing to my girlfriend at the end of this month. So we're game, man. We ready to go and go for it. And it's like, hey, and I think we hung up the phone, but maybe a week later you had a life-changing moment.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because of the phone call. Nah, but actually, yeah, I was feeling a calling in 2020. I was on a sabbatical in the spring, and I had told the board, like, I think God's leading me to start and work in the ecumenical world. Yeah, a way to describe what I was feeling. At the time, we went and saw Laura's doctor, and that she'd had since we got married, 92, long time. And he said, hey, just let you know, June's coming, and after June, I won't be meeting with patients anymore. I was like, oh, guy's got bank. He's a doctor. He's retiring. He's maybe a little older than me, but not too much. I was like, good for you. You're retiring. He said, oh, no. He said, I'm going to work with our entire medical system, our network, and try to improve care at all of the different ones. So I'm not going to do direct patient care anymore. And I felt like that's kind of what I feel as far as being a pastor at a local congregation. The responsibilities are really important. There's things you have to dedicate your heart, your mind, your soul, your body to be a healthy, functioning pastor. But I was like, I think I want to be in a place where I can help other places too. Not thinking I got all the answers, not thinking, hey, just come to me, but like something needs to happen, kind of. Early 2020, I went on a sabbatical and I told the board, I think that's the direction I'm going to go. And then that was, had some confirmation of that through that sabbatical time. And later, George Floyd was killed, which kind of amplified. There's a huge need for discipleship in this area. And that's what Catalyst is about. And Racial Harmony was scripturally rooted, gospel fueled, hope aimed, contextually relevant, and culturally flexible way. That's a mouthful, but solid scripture rooted discipleship. There needs to be more approaches to that. And I felt like I just feel called to be a part of it. How much I'll be effective, I don't know. I just feel called to be a part of that and give more of my life to that. So fast forward to January of 2021. I had a conversation with Todd, and that was all confirmed with the board. We had set up, I'm going to do a 1-year transition plan. And I told the church on a Thursday night by a virtual meeting, and the next morning, heart attack. The very next morning.
Next morning?
That was the next morning. Yeah. So fortunately, my wife was, she woke up and she's like, you don't look good. And she called 911 right away. My heart attack started probably within an hour. I was on the table getting a stent put in. So it was miraculous that what they can do medically that quick, that fast. I was grateful my wife had the wisdom to say, we're not waiting for calling 911. So my recovery has been fine and coming along, but we continued with the plan. Late 2021, I stepped out of my day-to-day stuff, and then really Catalyst launched in 2022, kind of officially as a nonprofit. We were doing paperwork and all that stuff before. So I was delighted that even before we got started, God was already calling somebody else to this work to join me. A young guy, a young Black guy. We have some common heritage of some of the things that we saw that this is not good. We're missing some pieces here. So it was great to have that connection relationally and then be able to start working together.
So talk a little bit now, just kind of the evolving vision of Catalyst, just as a movement, not necessarily as an organization.
Yeah. I think there was a whole wave after George Floyd was killed of people coming out of the woodwork to work on this. And there were all kinds of solutions that were posed, and there was a high interest for a period of time. But then according to Barna, the interest went up, and then it went back down, and then it went even further down. And I think the approaches can either be aloof to the problem, or they can come from a place that's secularly driven, which can be very unyielding. And I think that whole dynamic of what does it mean to be a people of faith and how we approach that shows up in like Dr. King's work, that there were drivers and motivations of faith that led him to approach his philosophy of engagement with this in ways that other folks weren't. And so I felt like, well, that was needed long before George Floyd was killed, and has been needed for a very long time. So that's what we've been focused on, a formation of discipleship in what I think, and looking forward, is a place where everybody can flourish. So we worked on putting some discipleship programs together that move people towards a unified experience of everyone flourishing together. And that's what we've been working.
Where did you stop at, Indy?
Well, you should go straight into limited resources, time, and expertise.
We back.
We had to get it out the mud. Yeah, you got to talk about getting it out the mud.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Andy, about just how in 2021, just getting the paperwork. 2022, you guys kind of started launch. And now I feel like you guys like in a really good space of just programs are doing a good rhythm. And so I don't know if you want to talk about like how you got it like up and running, started, because I feel like if you want to get into like the team that was there, what you guys are doing now versus what you're doing now, what you're doing then versus what you're doing now. And if you're going to give more insight into like how much work that took, because like you mentioned to us, like this is your first nonprofit that you started.
Yeah, I mean, at the church, a lot of the systems and stuff were already placed when I kind of came to even planning the church, there were systems and stuff already in place. So when you're launching a nonprofit, there's a legal side of things. There's a business side with registering with the state, registering with the government or the federal government. And you have to you have to choose how payroll is going to work. You have to establish a new board. You have to do articles of incorporation. So there's just a big hill of things that are not exceedingly difficult in it of themselves one at a time, but it's just kind of a sequence of a constant setting up the infrastructure and developing a website, which actually now in Minnesota anyway, you can't apply to be a nonprofit if you don't have a website in place.
Call us.
Yeah, these guys are great.
Well, you can't apply.
What? You can't submit your paperwork for a nonprofit if you don't have a website. And so I had another person help me with the website then, and just had some random pictures of stuff that were international in vibe. And then I put my application in and they're like, wait, are you doing stuff over in Africa or what are you doing? So just from looking at pictures, your website doesn't have to be robust to start, but I would recommend that it's consistent with what you're going to try to do before you submit your paperwork. So, yeah, it is a good amount of work. And then of course you have resourcing. Where are the funds going to come? For me, I was 55. Could have stayed in my role through retirement, and it was secure, predictable. I'd been pastoring for nearly 25 years. I knew things I was good at, knew things that I wasn't good at, and they would have been relatively comfortable. But this calling and draw to be a part of something and have flexibility that I didn't have and you don't need and shouldn't have as a local congregational pastor. You got to be present a lot, but I wanted to be able to go or flex. And so it is a lot of work. I would say it took probably at least a year to get things in place, like including a fundraising platform. What are you going to use? How are you going to do that? How are you going to get to people? So there's a lot of...
We've gone through two of those.
Involved. What's that?
We've gone through like two or three.
We're on our second iteration.
Yeah.
I think when that contract comes up, we may be looking at another... the one we picked anyway.
Yeah.
And it's functional, but it's way, way, way more than we need. It's designed for churches that are complicated and complex, and we're just not. We're a simple organization. Yeah.
Advice for nonprofit.
Yeah. So we, I think because of our work with Catalyst, we found ourselves working with a lot of nonprofits. And I would say that when we created the core values for nonprofit, like missional, we've been able to live that out with the work we've done with Catalyst. And that's been, to me, it means a lot. And I would say the work we've done with Catalyst, there was a piece of paper, there was this document that Andy created when we first got started. And it was just like, hey, this is what I want Catalyst to be. And I still have it in my office, but there was like a business element to it. And it was, what would business's mission look like? And that's always been a passion of mine. And being able to, hey, have a business that can directly impact this missional work has been super important. But just as you, Andy, you're talking to other nonprofits, what would be the advice you would give them, just when it comes to starting, to sustaining, to having that vision to keep driving forward?
Yeah. Well, a lot of folks that start nonprofits, I would think, have something in common with me, which is you're a bit of a futuristic in your strengths and in your perspective, a bit of a visionary. You have an idea and you see something that needs to happen and you see the gap and you want to be a part of filling that gap. The challenge of that is making sure you have someone that is good at the infrastructure side to come alongside the vision piece. Also, futuristic folks too, I've heard this a lot of times, I don't even know where it came from originally, but tend to overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 5. And so I could see where somebody could just go all in 120% and get to about a year and a half and go, it didn't work. I've spent too much. So I'm not I'm kind of patient, like in person, but as far as like getting to where I hope things could go, I'm kind of continuously a little unsettled that we're not where I hope it would be. I've been trying to give myself a little more room, a little more patience to say, let it build. Someone once said, ministry or nonprofit work is BS. Build slow and build strong. So, now we're 3 years of really fully functioning as a nonprofit. And I do feel like pieces are starting to come together that we can build on. And at a point of being able to leverage the marketing team through a national event that I think could be really, really meaningful and propelling. But we would not have been ready for that 2 years ago. So it's great when the infrastructure, the marketing and web and digital presence and the vision and the program elements can all move and grow together. I think you guys have grown in what you can do and how you can do it. And, technology, of course, is just accelerating exponentially. So usually about every 3 or 4 months, I'll get hey, look at this thing and what it can do.
Yeah.
Fall into it.
Yeah. And, this would be something to think about too. As I mentioned, I was 55. These guys are late 20s or early 30s.
Yeah.
Al in the back, early 20s.
19.
Yeah. So to have a generationally savvy group that's moving with current technology and opportunities, that are younger, engaged, understand and see where marketing is going. And, you're working with a Gen X dude that, thinks and has been thinking a certain way of what people need to know and how they need to get that information for a long time. And yet I'll hear from Todd or Wels like, well, that's not the way people are absorbing information anymore. Yeah, the other day we were talking about this thing that we got, and Todd's like, I think you're thinking like a newspaper ad. And I was like, well, I did look at it and say, I know that's too much text on there. But there's, a kind of mixture of image, of wording, of picture, video, of prompts that can come up, and how to advertise or promote. So there's just a blend. There's a lot to keep track of and try to keep up with. I can't do that because that's I'm not digitally incompetent, but it takes longer and I'm slower at it. And these guys have a handle on what's up and coming and are excited about how to integrate new technology and ways of doing marketing that are different. And so if you're a visionary and you're planting and maybe you're long seasoned and you see things and you now have a skill set to be able to bring to the table, so to speak, having folks that are a generation or two back from you is really a helpful thing to be thinking about where your nonprofit can go in the future.
You let me know when you're ready. I'll go right. I'm going to go into Sankofa and wrap us up here. So one of the things that we've gotten a chance to do as far as the VBG Catalyst partnership has been the Sankofa videos that we've done. And I think this last one was the best. And that's mainly because of Al. And we've gotten better, as we've gone. If you saw the first Sankofa video, yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, the first Sankofa video is really good, right? It's good. Wels has done a great job. Al's talent is just through the roof. And so, and some of just his eye for composition is amazing. The guy is brilliant. Yeah, clip that too. Yeah, clip that too. But so we're excited, even learning for us as an agency, we're getting a chance to kind of work through what does it look like to put together a whole campaign and build these campaigns out. And he gives us, Andy just lets talent be talent. He lets us go do us. And we really love that. He keeps us, he keeps us in check, right? Don't let us go too crazy. Because if it was for me, we'd have our own Catalyst network. We'd have our own Catalyst TV show network now. But yeah, Andy keeps us in check there, and that's really exciting. So we have just kind of talking about what's next for Catalyst. We know we're kind of gearing up for a Sankofa next year that'll probably be the biggest one we've done. 3 or 4 of us of our team that are going to be on the trip?
Yeah, I saw Todd change the name on a project board for the Sankofa to National Sankofa. I was like, wait, this just took another level.
It's another level.
And yeah, I think 3 of us on the team might be going.
Yes, sir. Wels is committing.
Whoa!
That's what he's doing. Wels is committing right now.
3 or 4, we try to get, we'll see what happens. Yeah. So yeah, definitely gonna see if I can be there. We'll see. I'm not committing, but I'm gonna try to be there.
I did. I thought he was about to put the hat on and be like, I'm taking my talents there.
Clip out that I'm not going to.
No, it's definitely exciting. The whole team's part of planning it, so I'm gonna get to see what's gonna be happening. We work on the campaign and all that, so yeah, so it's gonna be the biggest, and we all are planning to be there, and we're gonna make it happen. So we'll see.
But yeah, tell us about that, and then what else is up next for Catalyst? This is coming out. We're celebrating National Nonprofit Day. We don't have a favorite nonprofit, but if we did, it'd be the one that I'm.
Are you asking for like the next quarter or the next year? Talk about the next year right now.
Just coming up. Andy's a visionary, so he'll kind of he'll pull it all together, right? Yeah. What's you can give us 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 6 years, 9. Yeah. What's next for Catalyst? What are you excited about? Obviously, the National Sankofa, but
yeah, I gotta say this with Sankofa. I feel like we're a part of a sacred history. Like this is not. We just came up with this all on our own. There's Debbie Blue with the Evangelical Covenant Movement. That's a trip that I first went on, feeling a hunger for history, and found out about that trip. And she was an amazing leader that really put a lot of things in motion for me as far as understanding and how to move forward. So shout out to her, and with much, much gratitude. And we've learned, like you guys have learned, we've learned and got better too, and different ways of understanding and approaching it. But anyway, the National Sankofa national trip for pastors, for leaders, for educators, to have the possibility for those folks that are working in this area of racial harmony and justice to meet each other, to rub shoulders, to spend almost a week together. It would be 7 days with some travel and stuff in there. I'm really excited about that potential. But the other big thing that we've been working on and we've got to experience this year is the Flourishing Together cohort. So this is where participants get together monthly over the course of a year. And then they have 2 one-day workshops within the year and a Sankofa trip. But generally, I think discipleship happens better, sticks better, lands better, stays better when it's a slow soaking rain and not we're just going to feed you with a fire hose and you get really motivated for a short period of time and then you go away and it's hard to retain that. So this is not only building an understanding of dynamics of our racial history, what the scripture says about it, how do we think about culture and its influences, but it's a strengthening of relationships and connections that are from urban, suburban, Black, white, Eastern, Indian. We just have a different dynamic of a lot of people from a lot of different contexts. And that's really been great. And they're from different churches around the Twin Cities. And those relationships, who knows? Who knows what will happen with those? There's a beautiful thing when people come together over a long period of time and they're poised and postured in a different place when something happens, and something inevitably will happen again. And now those relationships are there. That shared learning is there. That experience of kind of a familial connection is there. So I'm super jazzed about we're going to be able to get at least 2 more cohorts in the next 3 years. And I think that's super, super exciting. So if you're looking for a cohort, you want to learn how to do and address some of this thing in your church, we say it's a way, it's not the way, but it's a way to approach this and figure out how to implement more discipleship in your context. Hit me up.
30?
No, I would have to this then grid to you for Riverside.
That's all. Yeah. So yeah, this has been good. We could probably stay here for another hour because we haven't gotten into we haven't even cracked into the entrepreneurial side of Andy Gray yet. So which is where I think that always brings us home, right? Some because Andy's had from the popcorn store to the water wars. Yeah. Andy's always he's a businessman for real. And that's another reason we love him. But Andy, thank you so much. We're excited, and all of the other possibilities, everything with Catalyst, and just to continue work. Y'all know, time flies when you're talking to good people. So we've been talking for a minute, but hey, we appreciate y'all for listening. Tune in next time.
Thank you for coming, guys.
It's a wrap.